Hey y'all, it's actually Bookishrealm and I'm back with another video, and I am back with some unfortunate news, like some pretty I hate that this is a thing that we keep having to talk about, but I think it's important that we keep the conversations going because this is how people become aware. This is how people learn about what's going on. And in the light of everything that has been going on, I would, pause right here and would like to say that my thoughts and prayers are definitely with the friends and families of those that were murdered in Buffalo, New York. And though this video is not about what happened in New York, I think that it is very indicative of what is going on in this country right now. So I and a few others that I work with were made aware this week that now Texas and Florida, as always, because they keep losing their freaking minds, are now in the process of trying to ban ebooks and ebook platforms, e-audiobooks. And I just don't know at what point any of this is going to stop. And the reason why I had brought up, and I'm going to talk about what's going on, but to give a clearer scope, the reason why I brought up what happened in Buffalo, New York is that if you haven't, and I know I have friends and family members that are Black that have not been keeping up with what's been going on intentionally because it's just too traumatic. The collective trauma at this point is just overwhelming and it's too much, and it's quite understandable why people are like, I just can't indulge in any of this anymore. The person who committed, and I haven't really been delving much into it either for my own sanity as well. The man, not the child, as the media would like to portray him, he was a firm believer or part of a group of conspiracy people who believe in what is white replacement theory. And this is a theory that pushes the idea that there is a plan by, it's very anti-Semitic as well, by Jewish individuals to allow immigrants to flood into the United States to take over and basically make white people the minority. And it is disgusting. It is harmful rhetoric. And the reason why this is so interesting in correlation to book bannings is because this country is actively trying to ban books that teach accurate history, that showcase people's experiences, their lives, their identities. And yet here we have the opportunity to stop rhetoric like this from being passed around that is harmful, that costs people their life. But here we are worried about CRT, which is not even applicable in a school age setting. It blows my mind. And so to hear this week, after having to emotionally reckon with what happened in Buffalo, New York, I've had enough. So I will put the article, the link to the article, down in the description box below. But the first is a couple of people who have actually talked about it, but the news source that broke it was NBC News. And what's happening now is that it started in actually, I think, in Tennessee. I'm looking at it as I'm talking to you, that last month a superintendent of a suburb in Nashville, Tennessee decided that he was going to pull his system's e-reader offline for a week, which cut access for 40,000 students. And this was because a parent searched Epic Library, which is a ebook resource that kids can use in a K-12 environment, and found that there was a book that was on her kindergartner's laptop that had LGBTQ themes. I get emotional every time I read about stuff like this because these people are taking away stuff from other children. It is not your right nor your authority to dictate what someone else's child should and should not read. If you do not want your children having access to materials, that is between you and your child and your parenting skills. Stop trying to parent other people's children. Stop trying to control what other people's kids have access to. It is not your job. It is not your responsibility. It is not your authority. I don't know what makes people think that they have the authority and power to dictate what somebody else's child can do. It makes no sense. And these are the same people who want to constantly argue about the fact that the government sticks their hands into too much. The government tries to tell us what to do. The government tries to do this. The government tries to do that. Well, what the hell are you doing? You keep trying to stick your hands and control other people's lives. Like, stop. Stop it. Enough is enough. It's so aggravating that these same people are trying their damnness to cut access off for everybody. And it's so ironic that this is happening just as New York Public Library created a system where teens could get access to their online books free of charge with a library card, not even having to live in the state of New York. And now we're going to try to challenge these ebook platforms. So the one that's in the school, which it is called Epic Library, they're also trying to ban Overdrive. Overdrive is what most of you use. Libby, your Libby app is through the company Overdrive. They are trying to shut down Overdrive now. Like, y'all, I have never in my life, like, this is ridiculous. And as a matter of fact, in Austin, Texas, there was a rural county that actually it was a public library. They pulled Overdrive. They completely pulled Overdrive. So not only are you saying that kids shouldn't have access to this stuff, you want to determine what an entire population should have access to, which ended up, yes, in a federal lawsuit. But my God, like, at what point do you people stop this nonsense? So then you're cutting off access to, for example, a lot of people in the elderly community use ebooks and audiobooks because it is the most accessible way for them to get their things. In addition to that, if you have an ebook for people who may have a visual impairment or visual disability, it is a way for them to access material so they can fucking see it. I don't get it. I'm so mind boggled at this point. This is probably like the most that I have cursed in a sit down video in a very long time, but I don't get it. It's ableist, it's racist, it's classist. Like, what is wrong with people? Why do y'all care so much? I think about the situation in Buffalo, and it reminds me so heavily of what happened in Charleston, which is my hometown. And it just makes me feel so hopeless sometimes when stuff like this happens, and then, you know, you wake up a couple of days later and then you see like people just don't want people to know the truth. They don't want people to be able to share their experiences. They don't want people to have access to whatever they want. I mean, I just don't know what version of reality we're living in at this point, where it's just getting out of hand. And I'm always the one who has said, like, book challenges, book bannings, like, it's a normality. It's happened for years, but this is just so different. I feel like people just don't have the right to exist anymore. People don't have any empathy for anyone. You can't be different and survive in this country anymore. God forbid that you are not what the societal standard of what white supremacy is. Like, if you don't fit into that box, like, God forbid you exist. And my voice is shaking because I get emotional, because I think it's just been so built up, and it's just been coming all, like, these past few days, just all been coming and coming and coming because of the fact that it's just like, I don't know where I live anymore. I don't know what world I am existing in at this point. I am scared to be raising a child in a day and age where I have to deal with other adults, because it's happening in my state as well. I have to deal with adults trying to determine what's appropriate and what's inappropriate for my child. When these people don't take care of my child, they don't provide money to help me take care of my child. They're not there when my child is sick, staying up late. They don't entertain my child. They don't feed her. They don't clothe her. They don't do shit for her. But what they will do is tell me what is appropriate and inappropriate for her to read in a book. And the logic is just non-existent. There just isn't any logic anymore. These people are just going batshit crazy for like absolutely nothing. Literally, you are trying to ban platforms. You have banned entire platforms, cutting off access to thousands of people. Thousands of people. This is just like, it's so awkward to the point it's like I feel like I'm living in a dystopian world, and it's only a matter of time before things just dovetail into something like Fahrenheit 451. Like, I hate to be that extreme, but when I saw this, I said to myself, how can I not be that extreme? How can I not think that this is going to get 10 times worse before it gets better? That this country is in a direction, or it's headed in a direction that I just can't seem to wrap my mind around. I can't seem to process what's going on. I can't seem to understand like why any state, any county, any superintendent would go as far as to say we're going to ban entire platforms. We're going to ban Overdrive. We're going to ban Epic Library, and we are going to make sure that people don't have access to these materials because we think that they're inappropriate and they promote ideas that are against what we believe. I am so nervous because Overdrive, apps like Overdrive / Libby, Epic, they create an ease of access, and like the article said, it makes things more complicated because now parents can just search, keyword search. You know, like it's kind of hard when it comes to searching a library catalog sometimes if you don't know what you're looking for, if you don't know what books, because a lot of the physical books that they're banning and stuff like that is because people are telling them. And I always say it's so fascinating when parents challenge these books and ban these books or get these books banned, because half the time their books have been published 3-4 years ago and they had no idea that they existed until someone told them that they existed and that kids shouldn't have access to them. With these apps, you can just start searching for stuff and trying to restrict, and it takes but a click of a mouse. I know because I do it. It's part of my job. It takes but a click of a mouse to remove it. It's so easy to remove it. And so I read an additional article, and I'll have to see if I can find it and put it down below, where they couldn't work around that, so they just pull the plug completely and just got rid of Overdrive completely. And to do that is just harmful. And I'm trying so hard to understand and see outside of white supremacy and maintaining power, and I don't get it, because even the argument about this shouldn't be accessible to kids, it's you tell your kids what they can and can't read. You have that conversation with your kids, but don't take that away from everyone else. Don't take away people's access to books in general. Like, it aggravates me that a public library pulled all of their ebooks. They pulled all of them. That's so detrimental to a community. It's so harmful to a community for people who just want to enjoy reading without all of this nonsense. And it's the one thing for me, and it makes me emotional because reading is my safe space. And I couldn't imagine being in a place where someone took that from me because they felt like I shouldn't be reading something because they don't agree with what's in it. How do you do that? How do you take someone's comfort away? How do you take something that has saved people's lives? Like, how do you take something away that somebody's escaped, that helps people deal with real life situations? The politics of it all, inserting your political beliefs, and it's very just indicative of where we are and how far people will go to maintain the status quo, and how far people want white supremacy to be maintained in this country. They can't think of people gaining access to the truth. They can't deal with people gaining access to what has been done in this country. They can't cope with power structures changing. And it's sad. It is so sad that you feel so intimidated by people that you treated like shit. And it speaks a lot to people's fears. The fear of not being in control, the fear of not being on top, the fear of not being, or having everything just given to you, golden platter, easy, not having your privilege. It blows my mind that people just can't reckon with that. So I don't really have much to even add at this point, because it's kind of one of those things where the story is developing, but I'm just at a loss, y'all. I am at a loss. I don't even know what to say anymore about being here. It's just, I don't know anymore. I will continue to film and update and have these conversations about challenges and bannings, because although they're not always talked about in this community, I don't think sometimes this community can realize how impactful this eventually could be. And if it's me and a few other people that need to keep the conversations going, I'm more than willing to keep the conversations going, because like I said, I don't see it getting better before it gets worse. So let me know what y'all think in the comments below. As always, hit the like button, click subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. And this was a tough one, y'all. This was a very emotionally charged one for me to sit down and have to work through. But I will be back with another video soon.